Hello, my name is Derek. This is Fun with Linux, and you're watching the first episode of Life with Linux. With me right now, I have Angel Mercedes, and why don't you tell the people what you're all about?
So, like you said, my name is Angel Mercedes. I live here in New York City. I study electrical engineering at City College of New York. For the most part, I use Linux as my daily driver. I use it for my hobbies also. Like I do a lot of things with servers and also 3D printing and electronics. So yeah,
Yeah, man.
I have been like in Linux since like 2011, and it has been great. It has been like always great for me.
So yeah, we had a really weird story just meeting each other. I think it was Instagram or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it must have been Instagram or something or Twitter, something like that. I don't even remember at this point. It was so long
Well, I
ago.
vaguely remember because I tweet about Linux stuff and I post stuff on Instagram about Linux, and this was before I privated my account for privacy reasons. And you used to comment on my stuff, and I think one day I told you to follow me on Twitter, and then we just kind of back and forth, and then we met up in your TeamSpeak room, and then we started talking on Telegram and Steam and stuff, and now we're like internet friends. So kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah, wow, that was so long ago. I haven't used TeamSpeak in a long, long time.
Yeah, I just kind of gave up and started using Discord once it came to Linux.
Yeah.
So, what are your main things about Linux that you like?
I just like the freedom that you have to customize everything that you want, every single little thing. You can get OCD with every little thing that is. It's not like Windows, like you see what you get. In Linux, you can, even if they don't give you what you want, you can make it yourself if you even want to. So I
Right.
love that. I love the flexibility. If you don't like a distro, you can hop into another one that has better things, or if you don't like a file system, you can hop in another one. Like it's all whatever you want. It's not what people force you into. So I love that. I love that aspect of Linux.
So, what operating system, like what distribution do you find yourself on the most?
Arch Linux. Arch Linux is my baby.
I'm
I
glad to
love it.
hear that because I can't get away from it either, man.
I
I
love it. I love it.
I went through a thing like a couple weeks ago when I was getting ready to review because I'm working on a review for 1704, and I was using it, and the main reason was because I have a laptop and it runs Unity on like 2 gigabytes of RAM better than anything else, and like I could get. And the main thing is because vertical sync on lightweight desktops is just garbage.
Yeah,
So I tried using
it
that,
is.
and then like I always end up just deleting it and going back to Arch. Like I don't know why.
Yeah, like I tried before. Like sometimes I had it once break on me, and I was like, oh, let me try some other stuff here and there. I tried SUS for a long, long time. I used it a lot.
Yeah, I mean me
It's
too,
really
right?
good.
Like
It's beautiful. Um, I went back to Ubuntu, and I was like, nah, if I'm gonna be an Ubuntu man, I'm so just going to Arch. And it's
it's
so easy. There's so many distributions that you can use to install Arch like so easily now.
yeah, like I just wrote a program that does it for me because I really hate the derivatives of Arch. Like not that they're bad projects, but I feel like if you look at Antergos, I think their theming is ugly. I think their just everything is ugly, and I'd rather just have stock Arch. So I know that's stupid, but and
Yeah, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
it seems like you've got the Arch bug like I do because like it's hard to go to any other distribution. Like I
Mhm.
remember reading a comment on my channel a couple of weeks ago where they're like, if you try and switch off Arch, it's impossible because you'll use another distribution and then you'll just go back because there's just one little thing that you don't have as much control over, and it's totally true, man.
I'm Turgos, but there are a lot of things that bug me about it. For example, like all the theming and the trash that they put in it, the light DM or whatever they put
I always
now,
disable that when I have to use Antergos.
it's disgusting, and I just switch it for GDM all the time.
I mean, I don't know if I would use the same word as you, like disgusting, like it's gross, but it definitely doesn't look great. Like I just I kind of get what they're doing because you can't really theme a desktop
Yeah.
without theming it. Really, you can't make your own desktop, I should say, without theming it, because if you don't, then it just looks like everything else, and then how do you stand out? So I guess I understand, but
Mhm.
so your channel is a lot about Linux, but it's also a lot about 3D printing. Now, do you do this all on 3D printing software with Linux, or do you use Windows, or how does this all work? I'm really interested in how this
Um,
works.
I would say a lot of it is in Linux. Some little things I can do on Windows, and I'm forced sometimes to use Windows because a lot of the CAD programs like Autodesk Fusion 360, AutoCAD, and stuff like that, it
Right.
only works on Windows, and that's like the best of the best of in the industry to use. Um, but I have been like fighting with them over like making at least a shitty port for Linux because it's like the best of the best. But then I found this program that is called OnShape. It's
Hmm.
what is for doing 3D designs for 3D printing, and it's you can use it on the browser. So that means I can use it in whatever on Android, Linux, Windows, whatever.
That actually sounds
So
really handy because I remember in high school I took mechanical drawing and we used Autodesk software and that was like Windows. So it's kind of interesting that they now you could just use it in the cloud and all that. Not that I like using that word, but
it's not that bad actually. It's pretty good to be in the cloud. Is pretty good. The only thing is that you always have to deal with the little things that they add, um, because they are in the cloud. They can change things on you from under the carpet like all the time.
right.
So you gotta be careful with that.
Like the closest thing that I've used to an alternative to something like that is Google SketchUp, and I don't even think that that's on Linux, or maybe it is.
No, it's only on Windows and it's crap. It's really crap.
I remember when it came out though. It was good when it came out. But that was back when I actually did use CAD stuff, so I haven't been in the game for a while.
Yeah.
So what is
Uh,
your
I mean, the thing is that mostly, um, I just use OnShape. It's easy for whatever I do now. Later on, maybe if I need the Autodesk stuff, I can just reboot and go into Windows. I don't like it, but I have to do it.
right?
Um, then some other things about 3D printing, for example, 3D printers usually have a little brain that is made out of an Arduino, the same chip that the Arduino Megas or the Unos have. They have it also. So that
Right.
means that you can flash it with the same Arduino software, and to get Arduino on Linux is actually pretty easy. It's in basically every distribution, so you don't have to worry about that. Um, Now, in terms of 3D printing software, after you have your models and you want to 3D print them, the most of the 3D printing software is actually on Linux already.
Hmm.
So like you don't have to deal with like bullshit from like companies. There is only one that I have seen that is called it's called what is it called? It's if people know about 3D printing, it's the one that costs $150 to buy, and you can only use it on Windows. So
It's really cool that all these projects are built around open stuff because it kind of suck if you have to buy like a $300 piece of software and then you got to buy your 3D printer and then you got to buy all your materials. It's kind of nice, you know.
yeah,
I
it's
want to
it's
get
not,
into it too. Like it sounds interesting. I just don't have the
yeah,
money.
it's not that expensive to get into. It's mostly because 3D printing, as we know it now, came from the open source community.
Right.
Because you can look it up, but it's like there was someone that had a patent since like the 80s on 3D printing, and the patent expired in like 2008, 2009, something around there. And then after that, people started making machines with whatever they had at their homes. And if you think about 3D printing, like if you see the parts that go into a 3D printer, they are actually um, parts that you can find almost anywhere. And you can make a 3D printer almost out of anything.
Hmm.
You just using some motors. You need some motors, something to control the motors, and something to melt plastic with, and that's it.
I'll be honest, I'm more of like a hardware guy. Like you can definitely see this in the difference between our channels because we both definitely focus on Linux, but I think you're more focused on like software tutorials and like building stuff. Whereas me, like I don't know how I would categorize my channel, but I like to look at myself as like Linux entertainment.
Mm.
But I really like your videos, and they always make me feel really dumb when it comes to 3D stuff. So, what are some tips that you can give to a beginner to get into 3D printing?
Right now, everyone has it so easy to get into 3D printing because everything that all the failures that people had, they already document them and have like fixes for everything. So there are also a lot of people that are getting bigger on YouTube when it comes to 3D printing. Where like when I was starting into 3D printing, some of these people had like 1,000 subscribers. Now they have like 75,000 subscribers.
That's not
So
bad,
it's
actually.
the community grows with like the people, and there are certain there are certain amount of people that you will always see everywhere when it comes to 3D printing and it comes to the same thing. It's kind of like when you talk about like the Linux Action Show, which we're gonna talk about later,
Yeah.
um, where you see almost the same people everywhere. The same people that go into the Linux Unplug are the same people in some projects. It's kind of like the same thing. You see the same people everywhere. Um, Now these same people make like the most reviews, tutorials, and whatever, like all over the internet. But basically, if you get a machine at this point, it's gonna be a really reliable machine that you can actually find information on. Even if the company does not give you any information about it, you're gonna be able to find it on YouTube because there is people that have done the hard work into um, configuring these machines properly and making sure that all the people are gonna have a good experience, even if the company does not want them to have a good experience.
Hmm. Well, not to dwell too much on the 3D printing topic, I really do think that more Linux users should get into it because it's a thing that you can use to even to just to make like replacement parts for your PC. And if you're a
Yeah,
Linux user, you're already into making stuff, so
yeah.
it's a good idea. But
And if you're into Raspberry Pis, there is this software. There are two softwares. One is called AstroPrint, and the other one is called Octoprint. And they work on the Raspberry Pi, so you can have a Raspberry Pi connected to the Wi-Fi, and then you connect it into the 3D printer, and you can control your 3D printer from basically anywhere.
could you build like an entire printer that instead of using like an Arduino, like you said earlier, could you just use the Pi as the Arduino, or do you have to have the other thing?
I think people have done it before.
Because
So
I definitely I could see the benefits because you could have all the they got pins on the top, so you could do whatever with it, and then you also have all these expandable ports. You can make like a nice LCD screen for your printer or whatever, USB
yeah,
devices and stuff.
I think people have done it before with the Odroid. I think
Hmm.
they had like a shield that you put on top, and then that shield you can connect your 3D printed parts to it, and it can work better. It will surely help because a lot of the caps that people reach on 3D printing are based on the processing power of the chips that they have. So it will help a lot to have something like a 32 or 64-bit processor
Well,
that can actually handle.
especially since the Pi's processing power is probably more powerful than a lot of these hobby boards, right? The Arduino boards and stuff, right? I mean, like
Yeah,
a Pi is an ARM machine with like 4 or 8 cores, and they're getting more powerful each time. I think you'd probably increase the processing output for making stuff, but I'm not sure
yeah.
if it'd be worth
That's
it.
why a lot of people buy other boards that have like a little bit more performance, and there are some certain type of machines that need a lot more performance that they don't work in the same like X, Y, and Z axis as other machines. You need a lot of more power and a lot of more power to do calculations in order to have the 3D printer know where it has to go.
So, because I'm not sure how interested my viewers are in only 3D printing, let's start. Let's talk about some other things that you do on your channel. So,
Yeah,
I've
sure.
seen you done reviews. So, what are the main things that you like to review?
I'll say I like to review things that might help other people when it comes to buying new stuff, so they don't have to shell out like $200 and then get something that is crappy.
Yeah.
You know, if I already like gave the money, might as well just give a review and give people my opinion when it comes to some hardware and so on.
The only reviews I've ever done are like things that I own that I want to make a use out of. I'm so terrible at just being like, here's a phone, and this is why you should buy the phone because it's a good phone. I don't know. I can't do that.
I think a lot of people that do reviews, they dwell a lot on the specs and like,
Yeah.
oh, comparing it to other things, but they don't focus on things that actually affect people. Like for example, like, oh, is this gonna be like a decent performance machine for whatever you want to do? Because everyone has a different thing that they want
Right.
to
Like
do.
I've seen so many computer reviews where they're like, well, it's got to have 64 gigabytes of RAM and it's got to have 64 this and 32 that. This laptop has 2 gigabytes of RAM and a dinky hard drive. But if I were to review it, I'd be like, this is a great computer for what you want it for, and that's just web browsing and stuff. And I know you've got a Chromebook, and I'm sure you like that.
Yeah,
Like,
that this is. I'm actually talking to you on a Chromebook, and this
so
Chromebook,
technically
I
Linux,
love it.
technically Linux.
I love it. Like I have had like at least three Chromebooks and a bunch of laptops, and this is my favorite so far.
Yeah, that's one thing that we should talk about real quick. Chromebooks, because Chromebooks are Linux. But I
Hmm.
think whenever I listen to somebody who likes Linux talk about Chrome OS, they have this caricature of the operating system from like 2009 where it's like, you can't do anything. It's a web browser. There's no file manager. There's no this. There's no that.
Yeah,
There's an SSH client. There's a terminal. You can use Bash. You can use TTY. You can use Crouton. I've written articles about replacing Crouton and booting into it directly as if it was there with Linux, and you can dual
mhm.
boot. You can do so many things with it. Google has really done a lot with it, and I don't get why it has this bad image. I mean, besides the proprietary crap, I guess.
Yeah. I I don't know. Like this Chromebook, I love it so much, and it's mostly because it's a convertible, so I can convert it into a tablet and so on, put it in different shapes.
Right.
But not only that, but because it has now Android applications, it's basically a tablet,
That
so I
sounds
can use it
pretty
for whatever.
useful. I mean, like, especially because you're saying earlier, like, the CAD thing works on Android, so you could probably use your CAD programs on.
Yeah, or I can use it on the browser. It's almost the same thing. It doesn't matter. So like adding Android applications to Chromebooks is like the best move they could have ever done when it comes to like getting applications.
I mean, I think it's a no-brainer, but I think
Yeah,
what Google should do is they should just take Android and they should take Chrome OS and just make a different thing, unify it, because they've already got all the developers on one side who love Android, and then they've got laptops and one operating system. It could make everyone happy. I could even see it taking over Windows. And I know that Chrome OS
yeah,
has like a bad image, but like at least the mainstream, if they were to take over, the mainstream kernel would be Linux, right? We'd still be getting code from them instead of
yeah.
Windows or whatever the hell they're doing.
The only problem that I see with this Chromebook is I was reading through some reviews and some information, and they were saying that if you install Linux on this computer, the audio is not gonna work
Hmm.
at all. Yeah,
Kind of weird.
yeah,
Too
it's
bad you
weird.
can't just export the kernel and use it.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I haven't tried it yet, so because I'm really comfortable on Chrome OS. I don't even want to leave it.
I had an Asus Chromebook for a while, and I accidentally fried it because I took it apart and I was trying to see like what's inside of it and look around. And a lot of these Chromebooks now have soldered in hard drives like eMMC. It's like put in like this,
Yeah.
and the RAM is all one chip and everything.
Hmm.
And I shorted out the RAM, and it would never turn on again. It kind of sucks because I kind of miss
Wow.
Chrome OS.
You gotta be really careful when you take things apart. I do it
Well,
all the time,
yeah,
so I don't really care.
I was just really curious, and I was digging around. I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
I'm the guy that was like fixing Game Boy Color games like way back in the day. So I have experience on that. I remember a friend of mine gave me a Pokemon Gold and it didn't work at all. So what I did was I put a bunch of acetone inside of the game. I put it into the Game Boy Color and it worked. That was like the craziest thing that has happened to me, like in a long time.
So you mentioned the Linux Action Show earlier. Now this is a thing that you and I both keep up with because we both watch
Yeah.
Last. We're both fans. So what do you think about them ending the show?
I've been watching the Linux Action Show since I switched to Linux back in like so long ago,
I
like
was
in
watching since
2008.
Brian was host, so
Yeah,
I've
I
been there
remember.
for a while too.
I was watching when he was in the show, and then after a little while he left.
Yeah,
But dude, in comparison, back in the day, it was like so much better compared to now.
I think I was there like for the Stallman interview, and that's when I started listening. And then he left. I like how it is now. I like how it is before. I'm pretty ambivalent on it. I think that it's a good podcast, and I think they do try really hard to get content out. I mean, like you and I make content. We know how hard it is.
Yeah, it is pretty hard.
And like I've spent entire days on a video and I've just deleted it because it's just garbage. So I know how they feel.
Mm.
But I'm kind of wondering like how they're going to get their viewers back because if just from their download numbers alone, like the RSS, they must have like thousands and thousands and thousands of viewers. Like what are they just going to do? Throw it away or what?
I I think it was a really dumb move to do. It was really, really, really dumb move to do because they have people that have been there for years now, and they have so many people. I mean, most people that use Linux, they might have watched their show at some point. So
Yeah.
it's like they just lost the we just lost a battle, a big battle. We just lost because even if they split the show into different shows, they're not gonna get the same amount of views in every one of them.
I was
Not by a
thinking that I remember writing a tweet to Chris, and I remember he was talking about how we want to put the format for the stuff in the episode before everything else. And I'm just like, well, why don't you just do what channels like mine or yours do, where we just upload small videos like that Solus review that I did was 10 minutes and it has 10,000 views and it's not an hour podcast. And when people see the video, they think, okay, this is what I want. I don't understand why, if this was such a big problem, Chris didn't cut out the main content of the podcast and put that on YouTube and cut out
yeah.
the news segment, put that up, make separate playlists. It can still be last, and for those who like the regular show, they get the same show. I don't get that. But I mean, I'm not against new stuff. Like I think it's a great show, and I just need something to listen to on Sunday. So I'm probably gonna listen to whatever they do next.
Yeah, it's crazy because I have been watching so long every single Sunday, just waiting for a Linux Action Show, and now it's just gone. It's just gone, and they're not. I'm pretty sure they're not gonna make the same content as they used to before. It's
You
gonna be
know,
so different. A lot of people might not like it.
it's even different for me because I've financially benefited off of the Linux Action Show. There are times when I can't think of a video idea, or I can't think of an article idea, and I have to write 2 articles a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. And if I can't think of an idea, they talk about something on Last. I'm like, oh, well, that's actually some cool software. I should check it out. I've switched to Telegram because of them. I've done a ton of stuff. Like I've written so many articles on like Chris talked about fish for like 20 minutes on a podcast like 2 years ago. I wrote an article about fish, and then ironically, it was featured on Last Unplugged like a year later.
Oh
So
wow!
like I've financially benefited from the show in my own way. Like I've met people, like I've met you, not in relation to it, but it's weird that we both like it. Like I know so many people just from the show itself, so it's going to be weird. I hope that they at least put their news show into the Last feed or something, like the RSS feed or something, because they've
Yeah,
thrown that away is crazy, in my opinion.
yeah. It's I don't know. It feels like it just feels like a rush move for some reason because the one week they're complaining about like not having engagement, and the next week they're like, oh, we're gonna drop it. I mean, it's like I don't
And
know.
I mean, in
It's
fairness,
like
we don't
think
really know
about it.
what goes on in the behind the scenes. Like they could have been thinking about this for a year or two or
Yeah,
3 years. We don't really know because we're just the viewers. But I mean, it's their art, right? Like
Yeah, it's their thing. They can do whatever they want with it, but it's like their network is like mostly like a lot of the shows are like the viewers from the Linux Action Show, they trickle down to a lot of their shows.
Like I don't really like a lot of their other shows. Like I don't like Unfilter for a lot of reasons. I don't like uh BSD now. I don't really like, but I like Last. I like Last Unplugged. I like TechSnap. You know, I like Ask Noah's going to be
Yeah.
cool. Like I think they're going to have a lot of cool shows, but I don't like all of their shows. So
Yeah, and a lot of their shows, you have seen that a lot of them have gone away because
yeah,
they just don't draw the same attention for the to the people. I mean, I used to like Tech Talk Today, but then after a while, like if you make it so often, it gets just
still.
boring. It just gets really boring, and they just have to cancel it.
Well, I mean, I think that's the point of them canceling Last, because after 10 years, 11 years almost, maybe it just got the format got stale. They don't want to do the same thing. Maybe because honestly, the favorite part for me on Last is the news.
Yeah,
Because
that's what I used to just watch, and sometimes like before I used to like more the main section that they had,
I
but
always
now
like the
it's
main
like
section, but I always kind of like half listen to it, and sometimes
yeah,
it'll be something I don't really care that much about. I like the banter, I like the talking between the two, so I'll stick around for it. But I never, there hasn't been a segment where I'm like, oh man, that was awesome. But like, there are some news articles where they like go nuts over it, and I'm like, that's pretty cool, and that I have an opinion too, and it's interesting to hear thoughts on it, like stay informed and
yeah.
all that.
Back in the day, I used to like more the main segments because they'll teach you about something that you might not even know about. But now it's like it's weird, and sometimes they just focus on business stuff, and a lot of people don't even have a business. So it's like
Yeah,
I don't. Before I when Matt had the tutorials, it was pretty good. It was pretty good because you could learn something all the time, no matter what.
yeah, I
I
remember
used to love it.
the one that stands out to me the most is just the when they were talking about like how easy it is to set up NFS stuff, because I always used to think NFS was complicated and like hard to use, and then there was a video of like, oh hey, actually it's super easy and here's how you do it, and now I know how to use
Yeah.
NFS shares like normal. So
But I will say I still prefer Linux Unplugged way more. Even before they said that they were gonna cancel Linux Station Show, I still prefer Linux Unplugged because you get a lot of they like they can argue like people from different parts of the community can argue with each other and they can talk and you can listen to the conversations because you're listening to people that they they have way more knowledge than you have
yeah,
in different fields of Linux, and you have people that work in big companies, people that have small projects. You can have like a lot of different people there. But like that the conversation that they used to have, it will drive it, like I would listen to it when I'm coming from work or school, and I'll listen to it and I'll get interested into that, and I will be like, damn, that's a lot. That's very interesting. But with like last, sometimes you'll be like, oh, like I'll be like half asleep watching it. Like,
see, I always listen to everything on my phone, so I go for long walks or running or exercising, and I have tons of podcasts. So I'm more of an active listener than you, I guess. But I think it's time to move on to another subject, and this is a subject that I don't know how interested you are in, but I love gaming. So how do you feel about the state of gaming on Linux?
it's getting better and better all the time, and I like that. I like that because I was like the of the first people that got into the Steam on Linux beta back in the day, and
Yeah, I got
still
into it
on
too. It was
Linux.
awesome.
It, it was like 3 or 4 games, and now I have like 100 and something games ported into Linux, and, which is great. I have like 300 and something games in total, but like at least half of them are on Linux, which is pretty good. And like most of the games that I play, there are a couple games that I play on Windows that are like Doom 2015 or 16,
2016, I think.
Wolfenstein New Order, Skyrim and stuff like that. The Elder Scrolls Online. Some of them they have they can work play on Linux, but I'd rather just play on Windows and get it over with.
I think I was going to ask you that, like, what's your philosophy for Windows games? What I do is I hate rebooting my computer. I have 2, 3, 4 hard drives, and I have one that has Arch on it. I have another with Windows, and then I have another couple with random stuff. And the way I see it is because I have 194, almost 200 games on Steam, and out of that 194 to 200, I haven't counted in a while, 114 of them are native on Linux. So a lot of my games already work, and the games that will work in Wine, I get working in Wine, like No Man's Sky or various other games like I can't think of right now, but like Dark Souls or whatever. Those work, and then for the third tier, for the ones that refuse to work, those I play in Windows because I hate using Windows. I hate booting into Windows. I don't like Windows, and I hate rebooting my computer. So
Yeah,
that's the way I do it.
I'm in the same band. I hate it. I completely hate it, and that's why I'm using Windows 7 now. I used to use Windows 10. It was horrible, and I just say like I can't use this. I can't use this.
You see, I
And
don't
I
look at
just
it that way, but I guess I can understand why you wouldn't want to use it. But the way I see it is I have a brand new GTX 10 series graphics card, and I have DirectX 12, so I kind of have to use the new one. So I'm kind of stuck. Like, I don't even know if there's DirectX 12 support on Windows 10. But regardless, I'd rather more games just come to Linux, so I don't even have to deal with it, you know?
yeah, it's better. And I always support the games when they come into Linux. I just always buy and stuff. But at these days, I barely play. When I play, it has to be a really good game. And like if it's on Linux, I'm gonna install it on Linux. If it's on Windows, I'm gonna think about it before buying it. And if I buy it, most of the games that I'm playing now, a lot of other people just give it to me, and I just play them.
Yeah. So, we've been talking for quite a while here. This is the first episode of this show, so I don't know how these are going to go in the future,
Yeah.
but it was fun talking with you. Please tell the people again where they can find you on YouTube and why they should subscribe. And we'll wrap it up and get out of here.
So my channel on YouTube is Angel's Tinkering Corner. I have like 210 subscribers, which is it's not a lot, but the people that are usually on my channel they're pretty knowledgeable or want to learn, which is good. I haven't been doing so much lately. Like a lot of my videos have been a little. Not a lot of people have been commenting or liking my videos, so it's a little. But um, I'm just gonna keep working on my videos. I just keep doing videos whenever I have time. If college or work lets me, because I barely have time because of those two or the 3D printers here. Because the 3D printer takes a long time to troubleshoot.
Yeah, it
That's
definitely
another
sounds
thing.
like it.
So yeah, I'm on Twitter. Angel D Mercedes on YouTube. I'm Angel Sinker in Corner. That's pretty much it. That's all
And
I that's all I
I
use.
think I have you in my future channels. So if you can't find his channel, I'll put his stuff in the description where you can find him, and there'll be an annotation. This
Yeah.
has been the first episode of Life with Linux. Like I said, guys, the point of this show is to get somebody interesting and talk about life with Linux, their life with Linux and stuff like that, and that's what we did here today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, I have a bunch of links, including my subreddit.